And welcome into this edition of ACAP Today for the week of March 7th, 2022. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. On this week's edition of ACAP Today, we're going to speak with a representative from the Department of Education on McKinney-Vento. McKinney-Vento is a specific act that works with individuals and youth in schools experiencing homelessness. We're going to learn more about that and more about how you can help individuals and specifically youth in our communities connect with this program when they're in need. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but before we do, as we do at each point in the broadcast, we first turn to the news and information that you can use again for this week of March 3rd, 2022. We begin with our news and information you can use segment with this. We are reminding folks that the Home Energy Assistance Program is continuing to accept applications at this point, especially from new individuals who have never connected with the program before. We recognize the cost of heating oil, the cost of electricity, just the cost of living in general is really high right now. There are higher income eligibility guidelines this season than there have been in previous seasons. And we're really encouraging folks to sign up for this program as a relief measure at this point right now. We are taking same month appointments at this point because we processed most of our customers for the current season. So now is a really good time to call and request to be part of the Home Energy Assistance Program. It's important that you understand that the benefit dollars will stay on your account for up to 18 months. And even though we have some heating season left to go here in Aroostook County, if there is any benefit or balance left after you've had your tank filled up, that will stay on your fuel vendor account for the beginning of the next season. Please do give us a call at 768-3053 to schedule your appointment. We'll also be sending team members out to communities across Aroostook County to connect with folks in their communities. And we have, of course, office availability at our locations across Aroostook County. And most importantly, we can do your appointment right over the phone. And actually, most of our appointments this season and last season, because of the pandemic, have been done over the phone. So we certainly encourage you to contact us. The income eligibility guidelines for this program are directly at acap-me.org. You can click right on that and look for the heating assistance income eligibility guidelines. The good news is we can look back over the last year, or we can look back over 3 months or just the last month. So if you've had a change in your employment in the last month and your income is lower than it has been, would otherwise not have made you eligible over the last year, you may be eligible just based on your last month income alone. So it's certainly worth looking into, especially with the high cost of living today, and we encourage you to in fact do that. We also want to share with you some news of an energy supply relief credit that's coming to consumers across Aroostook County and across the state of Maine. The eligible customers for this program will receive a one-time $90 credit. Eligible customers include those primary utility account holders enrolled in programs like SNAP, TANF, Maine Care, all those programs through DHHS. There are have an income at or below 150% of the poverty level, the federal poverty level. Versant Power's Low Income Assistance Program will be working through this by March 15th, 2022, or during the last program year. So if you have participated in the Low Income Assistance Program as well, by the March 15th timeframe, you will be eligible for this credit. Credits will be applied regardless of who customers have elected for an electricity supplier. So here in Aroostook County, Versant for most individuals. And they'll be applied automatically. Customers do not need to take any action. And you should be able to see that on your March, and if not on your March, by your April bill. So if you do not see that credit appear, you want to give the Versant Customer Contact Center a call at 973-2000. There is a new program to support teens who are looking to quit usage of tobacco. The My Life, My Quit program is for people ages 12 through 17 who want to help quit all forms of tobacco. So we know there are a lot of folks, young folks now that are doing e-cigarettes, vaping, things of that nature. So it's not just for traditional cigarettes. Through this program, the My Life, My Quit coaches will help youth do things like developing a quit plan, coping with stress, learning about nicotine, and getting ongoing support. This is an outreach program that ACAP is affiliated with through our tobacco cessation program. We encourage you to text or call the number on your screen there, or visit mylifemyquit.com is the website we're encouraging folks to visit. And you can certainly reach out to Elaine Sipe, our tobacco cessation coordinator here at ACAP, if you want to get help connecting to this program or use other programs that Elaine has available. Of course, we have programs for adults as well. Oral health services here in ACAP, we're reminding folks that our oral health services and oral health screenings are available for Aroostook County youth age birth through 18. Our own dental hygienist, Lucy Moore, and she's available to do those oral health screenings, also cleanings, varnish, and molar sealants. And if there's further work that's required, she will refer you and connect you with a dental home and get you connected into that provider. Maine Care participants receive these services for free, so we really encourage you to reach out to us. And for non-Maine Care participants, there's a $42 private pay cost. So we certainly, it's as affordable a rate as we can possibly provide. Payment assistance is available if needed, and no one will be turned away from services. So please do reach out to us here at ACAP if you have a child under the age of 18 who's in need of an oral health screening or any of the services that are listed there on your screen. We also want to share with you, we talked about assistance for utility programs, to remind you that our partnership with the Aroostook Agency on Aging to make seniors aware, seniors who rent aware, that the cost of electricity, water, sewer, trash, heat, and internet is part of the emergency rental assistance program. We know that we connected with a number of seniors in our community earlier in the fall when you had your home energy assistance program, and many folks said, no, we're all set, we can pay our rent. But we understand now, with the cost of electricity increasing exponentially and our seniors living on fixed incomes, that this program is available, the emergency rental assistance program. If you meet the income eligibility guidelines, and most seniors in Aroostook County do, you could be eligible to receive the payments through the emergency rental assistance program that will cover your cost of your rent and your utilities. Please go to mainrentrelief.com or give us a call here at ACAP. We understand not all folks have connection with the internet and certainly don't prefer to fill out forms on the internet. We can do that for you by giving us a call here at 764-3721. And within a 4 to 8 week time frame, we should be able to process that application and get your rent covered, including back rent. If you're having difficulty paying rent right now and are unable to pay it, we can go back and pay any back rent that's due. So please do give us a call. If you're a senior who's renting, or if you're any individual who's renting in Aroostook County and having trouble paying your utility bills, the emergency rental assistance program may be an avenue that we can help you with. We also want to continue to keep you informed about the infant formula recall that we started to talk about a few weeks back. Our WIC program here at ACAP is a resource that you can use. Please do reach out to the Women, Infant, and Children's Program if you are a WIC customer. If you're not a WIC customer, reach out to us anyway. We may be able to get you enrolled as a WIC customer. We believe that there are a good number of people in Aroostook County who don't take advantage of this WIC, Women, Infant, and Children's Program benefit. But our WIC office has ordered formula that's going to be shipped directly to us here at the agency, and we're anticipating that shipment shortly. But we encourage you to give us a call, 764-3721, extension 2. We'll get you connected with our Women, Infant, and Children's Program. We are also reminding folks, this is our COVID section of the newscast, our COVID-19 pandemic awareness section of our newscast. Just to remind you that we do have the opportunity to help you connect with COVID-19 free tests, both through covidtest.gov. The president announced in his State of the Union address, I should say, earlier, that this will be reopened for households. So if you already got your 4 tests, there's another order of 4 tests that you can get beginning this week when that site opens back up. Again, covidtest.gov. In addition to that, there are Maine households in select communities, and the list of communities continues to grow, that can order an additional 5 tests or a kit that has 5 tests. That's through accesscovidtests.org, and we encourage you to utilize both of these valuable resources. And again, if you have already on covidtest.gov gotten your 4 tests and you were ineligible, they are going to make households eligible again this week. So please do look into that. We also want to remind folks that we are a resource here at ACAP for helping you connect with vaccination or boosters as needed. We also want to encourage you to go to maine.gov/COVID-19/vaccines. But if you are unable to or prefer not to register for your appointment through any of the online resources or portals that our healthcare providers have here in Aroostook County, we can help you schedule that appointment. Call us at 764-3721. We'll be glad to do that. We also want to remind folks that the Department of Health and Human Services is offering a free vaccine ride program. So do not make not having transportation or the ability to get to and from an appointment the reason you don't get one. You can call the toll-free number there on your screen, give them a 48-hour notice in order to schedule that ride for you. We also want to remind folks again that ACAP continues to, in partnership with the Centers for Disease Control and Department of Health and Human Services here in the state of Maine, offer community support, but most commonly are in the form of groceries and meal deliveries to households who are asked to quarantine or isolate as a result of a COVID-19 diagnosis or otherwise a close contact. Please do give us a call here at the agency if you are in this situation and you are unable to otherwise access groceries. We want you to stay safely at home to help contain the spread, the community spread. We're still a high transmission rate here in Aroostook County, and so this service is available. We have a team standing by, and we respond within a day to get those pieces of assistance to you, whether it's grocery, meal deliveries. We can also deliver thermometers, medication, things of that nature. So please do give us a call at 764-3721 and ask for help with quarantine, and we can connect you with that service as well. We also want to remind folks as the tax season grows ever closer to coming to an end, we're about halfway through the tax season now, that free tax preparation appointments are available for households with a combined income of less than $58,000. ACAP, in partnership with the United Way of Aroostook, New Ventures Maine, and under the sponsorship of the Aroostook Cash Coalition, sponsored by the County Federal Credit Union, are offering those tax appointments both in person at the Aroostook Center Mall and virtually through our scan and go process, where you can go to one of the ACAP locations across Aroostook County, have your documents scanned, and your taxes will be prepared remotely. I was in Fort Kent with the on-site tax team last weekend, and it will be in Holton this weekend with the team, and looking forward to connecting with folks out in the community who are turning to our collaborative to have their taxes done. But they're doing it each week at the Aroostook Center Mall on weekdays. And again, if you want an appointment, you can call 211, or you can visit cashmaine.org to schedule your appointment before tax season ends here, again, coming up shortly in a month or so, about 6 weeks before taxes are due. So if you haven't already scheduled your appointment and you qualify, please do schedule your appointment. We also want to remind folks that our Hope and Prosperity Resource Center for individuals experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity is open. It's a day center, open every day between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. at our 1 Edgemont Drive location. We provide not only a warm, safe, and inviting space for individuals, but we provide snacks and a noontime meal each day. And we also have coaches and navigators working on site with individuals to create a customized plan to meet their needs. Our workforce development team comes on site, and we help individuals find more permanent housing. And so not only are individuals from the local Sister Mary O'Donnell homeless shelter welcome to come in to this facility, but any other individuals who just need a warm and safe place to be during the day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And lastly, if we not mention something on this broadcast and you're in need of any assistance at all, struggling to make ends meet or otherwise just needing support and services, please do reach out to our team of ACAP navigators at 764-3721. Our navigators are available to help assist and connect you, just listen and connect you with programs and services that are available both here in our agency and with community partners, be those behavioral health, transportation providers, or others. We'd be happy to listen to you and help make those connections happen for you. So again, if you are in need of any assistance, please do reach out and contact us. And that's this week's news and information that you can use. I'm pleased now to welcome to the program Amelia Lyons. Amelia is the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education State Coordinator with the Department of Education. And Amelia, we're so happy to have you on the program, our first time guest, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate it.
So I think we're going to start in by just sharing with us, because the term McKinney-Vento is not something that folks readily know much about. And so I want to sort of give you the opportunity to tell us what McKinney-Vento is and what really are behind those two very powerful words.
Absolutely. Yes, there's a lot of confusion about this program. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to share about this with your audience. McKinney-Vento is a federal law that it's nationwide, and it applies to Maine and all public schools in the country and in Maine. So what it is it's a support that's there for students who are experiencing housing instability. So if the student is in between places, temporarily staying with others, staying in a place that's really not their home, then they probably would be eligible and would be able to get additional support from their school district. Every school district has a McKinney-Vento liaison, so that's someone who's received special training to support and identify students experiencing housing instability.
Let's drill down a little bit more into sort of helping us understand who can experience homelessness, because I think folks maybe have a perception in mind of what classifies as an individual experiencing homelessness, and the definition is quite a bit more broad than I think most folks would think.
Yes, definitely. So I really encourage folks to think this could happen to any of us at any time. You know, God forbid, some natural disaster or a fire or a domestic violence dispute, anyone could end up homeless at any point. So this isn't just a program that's there for families who are at risk, right? We really want to think about all families and making sure that we know about this program, because we probably know someone who could benefit from it. If your child comes home and says, "Hey mom, my friend got kicked out of their home, can they stay with us for a little bit?" That would be a child who would be eligible for McKinney-Vento. So it's so important for all of us in our community to know that this resource exists and how to access it. So some of the definitions, the legal definition says lacking a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, which is a little tricky to understand in layman's terms. But they provide some really specific examples. So, are you sharing housing due to a loss of housing, economic hardship, or a similar reason? So if I, for example, if I get evicted from my home and I move in with my sister in the next town over with my 2 kids, we are sharing housing due to a loss of housing, right? So that's actually the biggest majority of students who do qualify in Maine and nationwide is because of that sharing housing category. So even though you have a roof over your head, it does qualify as homeless under McKinney-Vento because it's a temporary living arrangement.
So in a case like that, Amelia, what kind of support services might be offered to help a family get through a challenging period of time like that?
So they would connect with their school district liaison would be the first step. And then the liaison would determine eligibility for the program and be able to support the student with whatever they needed to be able to succeed in school. So that might be referrals for medical, mental health, dental, a lot of the great resources you mentioned just prior. It can also be transportation, school supplies, clothing. It's really a wide range of opportunities. The big piece about transportation and about McKinney-Vento is if you are temporarily living out of district, but you want your child to remain going to the same school that they were in, then that's what McKinney-Vento is really there for. It's to provide that educational stability. So in the example, if I move in the next town over and now I'm in a new district and I say, but you know what, my kids have always gone to this school. We're going to be moving back there at some point. I really want them to have that stability while everything else in our lives is not so stable. Then the schools would work together to find a way to provide transportation, even though I'm living out of district, so that my children could attend that school daily and return home to where we are staying.
Interesting. So in that particular case, there might be 2 school districts involved. So if the family that is experiencing a situation similar to that, would their responsibility be to connect with sort of the home school district, the district that their child has been enrolled in, and work through that McKinney-Vento coordinator, or would they have to go to the district where the child is now residing technically and initiate that process?
Either one, whatever they feel most comfortable with, honestly. Those 2 liaisons will be in contact to make a best interest determination for the student. So one avenue is continuing them in the school that they were previously attending. Or we might say, you know, I moved into this next town over. I really want a fresh start. I want to stay here. I want my children to enroll in the local school. If that's the case, then under McKinney-Vento, my children would have a right to enroll immediately, even though we don't have proof of residency because I don't have a lease, right? I don't have mail coming here. Or maybe I don't have my kids' vaccination records because I had to leave in a hurry. Or we don't have those kinds of documents that would be normally required for an enrollment in school. McKinney-Vento allows you to still enroll immediately and start attending school while working through those pieces, because our main goal is keeping kids in school, keeping them connected.
Now, that's very important. I can imagine that you've probably seen this as we have in working in social services, that the demographic of the individuals who are experiencing homelessness is changing, has changed through the time of this pandemic. Talk about who can experience homelessness, because I think that definition is certainly broad and has changed with the current circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, we know with the pandemic, a lot of things have changed. We would estimate, even pre-pandemic, we would estimate that 3% of all of our public school students experience homelessness in a given year. And in Maine, we're identifying closer to 1%. Now, with the effects of the pandemic, that estimate would be closer to 5 or 6% based on, child area poverty rates, our affordable housing crisis, and the general effects of the pandemic. So one study that was done by Schoolhouse Connection, that was a bunch of different states that worked together for the youth behavioral survey. That one said that 5.4% of high school students indicated they'd experienced homelessness in the one previous school year. So that would be 1 out of every 18 students in high school. So we're looking at a student at least in every classroom, most likely. So really understanding that this is a huge, huge problem, and it's affecting students in all of our schools around the state. There's some other particular disproportionalities with homelessness and who experiences homelessness. There's definitely some racial disparities for Black students, Hispanic students, American Indian and Alaska Native students. Those all being closer to 2 times as likely as their white peers to experience homelessness. And then we have LGBTQ, so without the transgender piece, but for LGBTQ students, they're 2.2 times as likely to experience homelessness. And when we break it down by transgender, it jumps up to 9.2 times as likely as their cisgender peers. So that's really important to remember. How are we building safe spaces for all of our students? And how are we sure that when a student says, I got kicked out or I had to run away, that we're not judging that. We're not coming at that looking at, well, what happened? What, you don't want to follow the rules or whatever it might be, because the research shows us that kids do not just up and leave for no reason, and that there's very often something else going on at home. And with the rates of transgender students experiencing homelessness, there's just so much that we can do to try to make sure that all of our students are safe and welcome and feel that sense of belonging.
And that must be a huge part of the role that the liaison for each of the school districts plays. It's that local familiar face. How, if you're experiencing, or your family, or of a family that's experiencing this, how do you connect with that individual? It's not like the math teacher who everybody knows is the math teacher in the school district, especially in Aroostook County. There are smaller school districts, so there's a math teacher, an English teacher, that kind of thing. It may not be well known to families who the McKinney-Vento liaison is for their school. So how do you go about starting that conversation?
So you could ask anyone that you do know in the school and say, hey, I heard that there's this position. Do you know who it is? You can look it up online on the Maine DOE website, and I'll be sure to share that link with you, where you can look it up by school district to see who it is. We're really encouraging schools to have this person be a social worker, a school counselor, someone who's in the school building and who talks to these students about their situations already. But in a lot of smaller districts, there just isn't the capacity for that, right? So sometimes it is someone who's in a central office, or an assistant superintendent, or someone else who gets it added on to their list of duties. But there is a quick search option. You can also always reach out to me, and I'm happy to connect you.
Great. So from that perspective, Amelia, when you're talking about those local educators in the local communities, what can they do and what can others do to help encourage individuals or help support individuals in this situation?
I think the first thing is really to recognize and look closer. What are some potential signs of homelessness? What are things that might be going on in the classroom that could indicate that there's something else at home? So I recently did some interviews with young adults with lived experience, and the prevalence of fatigue, just talking about falling asleep in class because they didn't have a safe place to be sleeping at night. So they were very, very tired. Hygiene, not having regular access to showers or laundry facilities, and how that showed up at school and how they were very aware of that. And schools can be a place to provide that support. You know, if you have locker rooms and students can access those showers, if you have laundry facilities, can students use that if they have nowhere else to go? Those kinds of resources that we might not think of right away, but would make a huge difference in the lives of students experiencing housing instability. So it's really paying attention and approaching students privately, engaging in this conversation in a trauma-informed and respectful way, explaining why you're asking these questions if you are asking, and getting your liaison involved from the get-go so that they can support you either in deciding who engages in that conversation and how it happens. We have a McKinney-Vento screener form that school districts can use, that they should use for any back to school paperwork and for any new enrollments. And that just asks a few questions that lay out, you know, you may be eligible for this additional service. Answer these questions to see if we can follow up with you about that. And so those are the big things. It's really listening, it's building relationships, and it's not judging. It's coming at it from a place of, I don't know what's going on. You know, we never know what's happening behind closed doors, and we just want to know if our students are safe and if they need their support and if they can get access to these services to which they may be entitled.
Amelia, I heard you say in there that you have connected with students and you've gotten feedback from students, and I understand you actually have some quotes, so sort of in their voices, if you will, and I always find that that's a sort of a very powerful testimonial. Would you mind sharing some of those voices with us?
Yeah, one of the first ones, I had a young adult, a Maine student, who had said, there are so many resources out there. I wish I would have known the power of McKinney-Vento. This young person was never flagged as McKinney-Vento, was experiencing housing instability for many years, and was changing schools frequently because of that housing instability. Let's see here. They also gave some really concrete advice for educators. They said, don't talk to the student in front of other students. That's embarrassing. If you see something is off, touch base with your students and try to help students be comfortable. I had one young person who said, I can tell you one thing, I struggled with being so uncomfortable, and it wasn't even the students that made me uncomfortable, it was the teachers. So really thinking about the environments that we're creating and the way we're navigating these conversations to make sure our students feel safe and feel welcome and a sense of belonging, no matter what they have going on in their personal lives.
That's quite powerful. You know, the role that adults play in both of the quotes that you both provided. There's very much a need for you know, having the dignity and the privacy. That's a very important part of the conversation on both ends, from, in some cases, adults, and certainly from peers, so that the children that are students that are experiencing some form of homelessness have the opportunity to focus on what we are encouraging students to focus on in schools, which is their academic studies and pursuits. Very, very interesting. What haven't we talked about, Amelia, that we want to make sure we get across to folks? And you had some information that you might have wanted to share, a few slides and pieces of information. I want to make sure we get that in.
Let me share the official definition here, because that does include a few other potential situations. So let me see. All right, are you able to see that okay?
Yes.
So it's lacking a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. And some specific situations include the sharing housing that we discussed, doubled up or couch surfing, living in hotels, motels, trailers, or camping grounds due to a lack of adequate housing. So that's another important example. Living in emergency or transitional housing, or children abandoned at hospitals. And then it also includes situations of what people think more often for kind of when they think of homeless, this is usually what comes to mind. So living in cars, parks, public spaces, abandoned buildings. Substandard housing is also included in the definition. So if their nighttime residence is not adequate, if everyone doesn't have a bed to sleep in, if there are holes in the floor or the roof, or there's some kind of infestation, if the house has been condemned, any of those situations would indicate eligibility for McKinney-Vento. And then another subcategory here is that migrant students who also meet the definition of McKinney-Vento can qualify. Migrant being the children of farm workers, students who have family members working in agriculture or fishing, they can also qualify for this program. So that provides a little bit more of the legal language behind it.
That was very helpful. I think folks that don't always understand when you really use a word like experience or terminology like experiencing homelessness, that it has a broader definition than folks might initially conceive and think of. So how do folks best connect with their McKinney-Vento? I think we talked about this a little bit, but can you just go to the office at the school and say it, and then and folks will know, like staff are trained to know who that is?
Yes. Yep. You should be able to ask anyone in the school. You can email, the website has their email and their phone number on it for each specific district for who that liaison is and how to contact them. And again, you can always reach out to me and I'm happy to connect you.
Great. All right, Amelia, again, I just asked this question as well, but anything else that we want to make sure we get across to folks?
I think there's one other category. We have our homeless children and youth, and then we also have unaccompanied homeless youth, which is a specific subset of students who are experiencing homelessness and who are not in the physical custody of a legal parent or guardian. And those students have the same rights under McKinney-Vento. They are able to enroll themselves without a guardian. They are able to make educational decisions for themselves. And there's a lot that goes into that I think we can really improve to make sure that students can feel that sense of connection to their local schools.
Great. I'm going to bring the slide that I shared earlier back up on the screen just for the purposes of conveying to our viewers that if you are looking for more information on this program, we've obviously shared with you that you can connect with your local public school and ask about the McKinney-Vento or the homeless youth coordinator in the school, or you can contact Amelia as well. Her number and her email address are there on your screen, and we certainly appreciate all the great work you're doing at the state level and the great work that our local educators and school personnel here in Aroostook County are doing to ensure that youth, and not only here in Aroostook County, but across the state, are doing to help individuals and families experiencing homelessness.
Great, thank you so much. I do want to share one more quote just to wrap us up, and it's from a young person with lived experience of homelessness who said, "We're not helpless. When we get the resources we need, we can make it work."
That's right. And this is a resource definitely that folks can and should connect with if they're experiencing any of the challenges that we talked about on this broadcast today. Amelia, thank you so much for helping to inform our viewers about this important program, especially at this time right now where we're seeing all of these changing demographic shifts and the like, and likely more families, as you shared, are in need of these services. So we want to make that awareness piece happen out there to our communities. So again, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of ACAP Today, Amelia. And before we leave all of you out there, just a couple of quick things as we end our broadcast. First, If you're passionate about helping individuals, we want you to join our team, and we are encouraging you to apply for a position. We have a record number of positions open at our agency right now, just because of the growth of the programs and services that we have had through this time. We encourage you to apply online at acap-me.org. Here's a listing of some of them, and they do range from all the way down south in Dyer Brook to the Presque Isle, Caribou area. So please do consider, if you have the qualifications for positions here at our agency, to apply online through acap-me.org. And lastly, as we do at each point in the broadcast before we leave you with our snapshot of the week. And all this year, 2022, because it's ACAP's 50th anniversary, we've been doing a throwback snapshot of the week. And so we take the throwback snapshot back to 1983 today. And this was our carpenter, Robert Chassis, who was working on a home in Van Buren, my hometown, back in 1983 as part of our weatherization and home repair programs, so which are still very active today, and much needed across Aroostook County. So we thank all of our hardworking team in housing and energy who help make people's houses more warm and safe on a daily basis. So thank you to our former employee, Robert Chassis, there in this week's Throwback Snapshot of the Week. And lastly, thank you to all of you who joined us in this broadcast today. We'll see you next week with a brand new edition of ACAP Today. Until then, have a great week.